We've done videos about RVing in cold climates and heating options, and a typical comment we see is that the best way to stay warm in an RV in the winter is to drive it south. Or grow beards.
Even though we've spent the majority of our 14 winters on the road in warm climates, like Florida, Mexico, and most often, the desert Southwest, RVing doesn't have to be exclusively about chasing warm weather.
There are some pretty magnificent places to RV in the winter, as you might have seen in our video last February in Zion National Park. While we've been to Zion many times, our first winter visit was stunningly beautiful, beyond anything we've seen there before.
Some people like to snow ski. Some just love the crisp winter air and don't mind the cold. Besides winter destinations, there are other reasons that even full-timers don't always snowbird, like specific events they want to attend, or family obligations.
Now, if you're wondering why we'd need to talk about heating options when every RV comes with at least one heater, there's a good reason. When we ordered our rig in 2005, we didn't check the option for hydronic heating. That's partly because it was so expensive, a $7,300 option back then. But at the time, hydronic heat had a reputation for being smelly and trouble-prone. We understand that hydronic heat has come a long way in the past 15 years, and we'd probably go that route in any new RV. But we don't have it now, and it's not a realistic option to retrofit it.
Since our first RV was heated with a propane furnace, we figured we'd be fine with that again, especially because our Mountain Air has 2 electric heat pumps, which our Bounder didn't have. That's right, we have 3 separate heating systems built into our RV. So maybe you're asking why we'd need anything else. Why isn't 3 enough? Well, it's because all of our factory heating systems have inherent drawbacks that make them less than optimal for spending extended periods of time in winter conditions.
The 2 heat pumps are great when we're on 50 amp hookup in moderately cold weather, but they draw enough power that running them both simultaneously on a 30 amp hookup leaves us no additional power for anything else. But even if we had the power to run them, the biggest drawback to heat pumps is that they only work down to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 5 degrees Celsius. Below that, they don't work at all, and then we're left with only the propane furnace.
That furnace works great, providing plenty of heat, plus it blows warm air into the basement to protect the plumbing from freezing. It's even pretty good for boondocking since it only requires a moderate amount of electricity to power the 12-volt fans.
But the main drawback to the furnace is how much propane it uses. It's very thirsty. In freezing weather, we could easily empty our entire propane tank in a week or 2. For a short trip to winter weather, that's not a big deal. But for anything longer than that, there either has to be propane delivery available wherever you're staying, or we have to move the RV to get the tank refilled, assuming there's somewhere nearby to buy it.
We've mentioned how much we love our portable infrared propane heater. We plumbed it right into our RV's main propane tank, and it works great. It sips propane and uses 0 power, so it's perfect for boondocking. That unit, along with an electric space heater, has kept us warm in some pretty cold conditions for extended periods of time. The only thing we needed to add was a light bulb in the basement to protect the plumbing from freezing, since without the built-in furnace running, the basement gets no heat.
The downsides to portable propane heaters are that they require an oxygen source, and they produce moisture. So that requires leaving a window open slightly while using it, which partially offsets the awesome heat they put out.
This winter we'll be staying north again, but this time we'd like to heat completely on electricity, since we'll be on a full hookup campsite, but propane won't be readily available. The problem is that we'll only be on a 30 amp hookup, and 30 amps isn't enough to run 2 electric heaters without using up almost all of the available power.
So we're going to make a custom modification to our RV to allow us to take advantage of something that most 30 amp campsites have, an additional 20 amp circuit. Before you ask why we don't just use one of those cheater boxes that plug into a 30 amp and a 20 amp outlet and provide 50 amp service, it's because they don't actually provide 50 amp service. They provide a 50 amp plug, but true 50 amp service is actually way more than 30 plus 20. Our energy management system analyzes incoming power and knows the difference. Unless we're hooked up to true 50 amp service, it limits our usage to 30 amps at a time.
We'll be using 2 types of portable 1500 watt electric heaters. a convection unit as our main heat source, and a ceramic space heater for more focused spot heating depending on where we are in the RV at any given time. Since each of these units pulls about 12.5 amps on high, we actually have enough power to run them both simultaneously on only 30 amps, with about 5 amps to spare. The problem with that is that we've got lots of other power needs: our refrigerator, the battery charger, all of our electronics, the microwave, and even our washer and dryer. Of course, we know how to manage our system to avoid using more than 30 amps at any one time, but we want to be comfortable, and constantly juggling power draw isn't what I call comfortable. It's nice to be able to make dinner without turning off the heat.
So we're installing a secret upgrade to our electrical system. A dedicated line from the 20 amp outlet on the pedestal directly to a new power outlet that we'll use exclusively for our main heater. We actually fed a heavy-duty extension cord out through our living room slide-out one year, and it was great. It allowed us to use that one dedicated line for the lion's share of our heating needs, leaving the full 30 amps coming in through our regular shore power cord available for everything else in the RV, including a second heater.
The downside of using an extension cord was the difficulty in running the line out through the slide-out without risking damaging it, and having to remove it anytime we took the RV out for an exercise run. So we're just going to install a cleaner and more permanent dedicated power line, so we can easily access additional power anytime there's a separate 20 amp circuit available on the pedestal, which is a lot of the time.
We'll be installing this outlet right here below our fridge, and the inlet right below it in our electrical compartment. Our next video will show you step by step how we complete this project and exactly what parts and tools we used. So stay tuned for that follow-up video. As always, safe travels, and thanks for watching.